Awesome. How is everyone?
I mean, pretty good, pretty
Yeah.
good.
Thank you guys for joining late. I'm sorry it's so late there.
I mean,
All right.
this is good time for me. I try not to do anything before the evening if I can help
Nice.
it.
Sweet. That's a good life.
I lead the opposite life, but that's okay.
Yeah. Um, I love seeing your guys' rooms. Everything looks awesome. Lots of cool shit everywhere. I love it.
And yours as well. I see a lot
Yeah.
of
Well,
Charles Burns back there.
yeah, I really loved the new one. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I like that he basically redrew sequences from a Last Picture Show and put like new narrative on them. I don't know if you've read it yet, but
I haven't read it yet, but I'm excited. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, awesome. Okay, so here's the deal. I have done work with Vinegar Syndrome before on the We're No Angels DVD, and they reached out to me to do a 2,000 word essay on the Spine of Night. Which I was not sure if that was because maybe Morgan reached out to them or not. I
Uh,
I don't think Justin knows I know you guys, or now that I know you guys.
yeah, I was surprised. I mean, I was thrilled, but I
I'm
said
happy to
nothing
hear it.
about it at all.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, it just seemed. I mean, he must have like searched Twitter or Letterboxd or something to see like who do I know who's seen this movie.
yeah,
Uh,
probably. And I'm sure the comic book connection helps too. Like he knows that I'm yeah. So I only have 2,000 words, and originally I just kind of wanted to reach out to y'all and see, if there was anything, any sentiment or thoughts or ideas that you guys wanted to have. But I was just gonna have a casual conversation with Morgan when he suggested you come on, Philip. I got pretty excited by the notion of us doing like a deep dive on this. So I don't know if you guys have the time or anything, but I'd love to just go over it. I've got some notes. Whatever you guys want to say is cool. Maybe we'll do something with this. Maybe it's just notes for me.
Cool.
Yeah,
I'm
sweet.
down for whatever.
So I love it. Thank you guys for being here. So I guess my first thing is I've read some interviews and stuff, but let's just go over it. How did you guys meet, and how did this project come to originally come to be conceptualized?
Well, I had started trying to figure out how to do this. I've been doing freelance design for ages, and I was really curious about film. I did film in college, but it wasn't for like a film course. I was like sneaking into the media lab after hours because all they had was a news department
Mm.
and just, messing around with the gear and trying to make, I don't know, like fake movie trailers. Um, and so I'd wanted to do it, but I got out of school and I didn't have any access to equipment. And so I sort of forgot about film for a long time and just did graphic design stuff. And we've all had to do work with clients, I'm sure, and they are horrible.
They're the
So,
best. What are you talking about?
and, and I had this one real, like, I'd say two really bad clients in a row where and I was like, I can't do this anymore to my wife. I was like, I hate this. I've got to do something that I enjoy. My dad had just died, so I was really feeling sort of like the existential weight of that. And he was an artist, so I was like, I got to just do my thing that I wanted to do. And what that turned out to be was very silly fantasy animation. But, you know, I, I think he would have been proud. Who knows? But he thought my childhood love of He-Man was a warning sign for future homosexuality. So I don't know that he was definitely like, these are some short pink
Is
fur shorts.
is there a
So
Yeah,
He-Man to like gay club pipeline, I wonder? There must be.
I
surely.
mean, probably,
Yeah,
probably.
there must be.
But
And straight dudes watch Thundar. You know what I mean?
I
Uh-huh,
mean,
uh-huh.
well, I was a big fan of both. Big fan of both as a kid. I was just the right age to get maximum enjoyment out of both of those. So anyway, so I was thinking about I just want to do my own art. I was like, I hate all these clients, and my wife was like, okay, if you need to take a year to learn a new trade, that's cool. And so I sort of just put all my energy into, I learned some sort of basic, like Flash style puppet animation, and then did, and that's like there's a very, very old mongrel short that I've sort of hidden from the internet. You have to go looking for it. It's because it's not very good and it's not on any of the Blu-rays, but it is. So I
It's
did
listed
that.
on Letterbox.
Yeah, someone I actually flagged it. I was like, it's already on here because I'm on Letterboxd all the time. I was like, this is already on here. And I was like, oh, even I forgot about this
Yeah.
original. Someone else added it. Um, so I did that, and it was a lot of it was a learning process. But there's one shot where from above where I needed him to like twirl his cloak dramatically, and the tools I had just weren't able to do it. Like that sort of cutout style animation. And so I was like, you know what I love? I love his Ralph Bakshi movies. And so I had my wife to stand at the top of the stairs and film me twirling a bathrobe. And I was like, ooh,
Awesome.
let's try to rotoscope something. And it was so fun to do. I was like, oh, this is my calling, this
Yeah.
moment right here. So I scrapped that project. It was like starting over. We're starting over with rotoscope. And I did that, like a sort of a, I mean, at the time it was just like an, ad-libbed sequel, like to the other short, because no one had seen any of this except like five friends of mine. But I put it on YouTube, and then IO9 reposted it, and it got like a reasonable amount of attention, even though it
Hmm.
wasn't. I didn't like send it out to anybody; they just found it. And so then, the there was Machinima. Do you remember? Does anyone remember Machinima?
Yeah.
They reached out. They wanted to put it in an animated shorts festival they were putting together in the fall in LA. And I'd already started working on Exordium, which was I was very excited about it. I was trying because of the response to the IO9 thing. I was like, well, shit, I should actually write something and try to say something and do something with my art rather than just tech demos. Um, so they wanted to use Mongrel, but I was like, let me finish this thing. I'm so close to finishing this much better thing. And yeah, then it was just like an absolute blitz to get that in by the deadline. Like just sleepless, almost 2 months of just sleepless animation.
Hmm.
Frenzied, one could argue, to get it done. I was just like, this is the thing that's got to get out. Anyway, they did that, so they had an installation in LA, and then I think they put it all up on their YouTube channel as well.
Hmm.
And somebody, Rick Lacey, is that right, Phil?
That's correct.
Um, sent it to Phil and was like, I think you'd like this. And
This looks
then
like your kind of bullshit is probably the exact the exact quote or something like that. Uh
And where were you, Phil, at that moment? I mean, had you, because you wrote Europa Report, right? Yep.
yep.
And so were you just looking for projects or?
Yeah, so I had written Europa Report and I had done at that point I'd had a number of like it's sort of like what Morgan's saying, like relatively brutal, like work for hire screenplay jobs, like in Hollywood, quote unquote. Where I've never actually
Nurse
physically lived.
Nurse 3D.
Nurse 3D, which is a movie that exists that I wrote the first draft of.
I'm totally gonna watch that.
Uh,
It's a blast.
It
yeah.
can't be. How could
Yeah.
it be bad?
How could it be bad?
How could it be?
I mean, I worked on it. How could it be bad? So so Nurse 3D, I'd made a movie called Bleeding House, and then I wrote Europa Report, and then probably when we first started talking, I was probably finishing actually a draft of a script based on Dead Space, the video game, which was also not the best experience. It was
Mm,
fine, but it's like
work for
whatever.
hire. And
Work
yeah.
for hire, like
Big
Hollywood
IP.
screenplay shit. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was anyway, it was I was not having a good time. And I still have this problem, not as much, but back then, every time I finished a project, I would think to myself, I don't know if I should be working in film. I
Hmm.
don't these experiences aren't fun. But then I saw Morgan Short and I was like, oh, this is like I loved Exordium, and I didn't have quite like I love the Ralph Bakshi stuff, but it
Yeah.
more was like, oh, this is like the type of fantasy that I love that I see like in books, but I don't ever really
Hmm.
see it on screen. And
Yeah.
so it was just immediately like, oh, that like I want more of this, and the world should have more of this, and this is great, and maybe I can help figure out how to do that. I mean, I also like, so then I wrote to Morgan and was like, as I'm sure we'll talk about, was sort of like, hey, I loved Exordium. Would you want to make it a feature, or do you want to do something else? Like, let's figure out how to do something together. But I think part of my thought too was like, because we, as I'm sure we'll talk about it, we did it entirely independently, really, and and we never even tried to not do it independently. Like there was no moment
Mhm.
when we were like tried to sell the
Shopped it
script.
around.
We never did any of that. And my thinking was that it would be a waste of time because if we even if we could sell it, by the time it had gone through
Yeah.
development, et cetera, like nobody would let us make it the way that we wanted to make it. So I was like, fuck it, let's just make it. Which is why it then took roughly 10 years to finish. But still, like that, like there was no anyway, but my thinking at the time was like, oh, nobody's ever going to let me be involved in a big fantasy epic. And even if they were, it would be the type of fantasy epic that gets made in Hollywood, which are fine, but that's not the type of fantasy epic that I would want to be involved in. So,
Well, particularly because you guys are starting, I'm gonna say, what I've read online is you started animation in 2014, so you must have been having these talks in, I don't know, 2012 or something. You think like,
probably
It
like
was much closer than that.
all
Yeah.
through 2013. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you guys really mobilized fast and
We
got a
did.
script up and
Yep.
running. So,
Yep.
because a fantasy and still is in this really weird, sheeny space right now, right? It's like really post Harry Potter, Rings of Power, all this fucking nonsense. So,
Hmm.
so I can really see why you guys would feel protective of this kind of what I
Yeah. I
would
mean,
call like old school hard pulp fantasy.
yeah, I mean, I think we've also sort of, gestured at it being what one might call like sword and sorcery or sword and sand. Like, there's
Yeah,
a many different ways to
sure.
think it, but I agree. Like, to me, the lineage is, and Morgan has slightly other narrative or inspirations, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But like, to me,
Yeah.
the lineage is like from the 1920s, 30s,
Yes.
like
Yep.
call it R.E. Howard, Robert E. Howard, etc. Then via like that train then runs into the 70s, where you get a kind of like tweaked version of that in the 70s. And I was like, yeah, I love all this shit. There's, like with heavy metal, there's embarrassing stuff about it because of the eras that it comes from,
Sure.
but like that doesn't mean you need to throw the whole thing out. Like let's find a 21st century way to do this shit and, take the stuff we love and ditch the stuff we don't. Um
Yeah, I do really want to talk with you guys about and I don't know how much of this you guys have thought about, but exactly the sort of lineage, that line from those 20 pulp magazines,
yeah,
Smith, and you guys have a lot of Lovecraft in the
yeah,
movie, really, and obviously Howard, how that goes to Europe, then slings back to America, then goes through Reaganomics, and then
yeah.
that's a very interesting pathway for me for fantasy, and how you guys ended up with a modern facing work, which I really love, and that's really exciting to me. So I do definitely want to get to that. Um, and so but just the beginnings of the project, and so you just reached out, you like cold called Morgan essentially, or
I cold Facebook Messenger Tim.
Facebook Messenger. I probably
Right?
would have not even answered that. My whole life would have never changed for the better.
I mean, I will say, I think, Morgan, had you seen Europa Report?
I watched it after you wrote me.
After I already, okay.
But
Yeah.
but like immediately after. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, who is
Yeah.
this guy? And then I was like,
Nice.
oh, this movie's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
It's
it's any consolation, I watched it on my
no
own
thanks.
when it came out. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's not a widely seen movie, but generally speaking, I find that the people who have seen it liked it. And it has it has a certain, imprimatur to it or something. Anyway,
yeah, yeah, no,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So yeah, it was just a cold Facebook Messenger, and then we very quickly migrated to email. And then Morgan, you should tell what happened then.
Well, I mean, I got this email and I told my wife and I was like, this guy wants to like make a movie together, like a feature, and she's like, she
Without any money.
without any. I mean, I still don't know how the film industry works, so I was like, yeah,
Either.
whatever. I was happy to just have anyone to collaborate with. If it had
Yeah,
been, I mean, I think, I mean, I won't say it was for no money. The film cost money to make, but I was happy to just sit there for whatever the amount it was to
yeah,
accomplish this thing. But so I told my wife, and I was just like, hey, so this guy wants to do this thing. She's like, huh, crazy. And then I was like, I watched this movie; it was pretty good. And then she was like, "Can you write a feature?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, sure. I've seen a million movies. How hard can it be?"
And
And
then it turned into an anthology film, basically.
yeah. So yeah, it was a huge undertaking, but I mean, we were, batting huge, big ideas back and forth almost immediately. I'd already
Yeah.
had a couple of like plot stuff in mind. Like the second chapter of the film was like going to be a short film sequel that I'd written, or at least was tinkering with as a
Yeah.
follow up to
Because there's a lot of the
originally.
DNA of your short infused in this, in the whole work,
Oh, for
really.
sure.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely like, what if we took this thing and just made it bigger? Like, what would a bigger version of this look like? Um, yeah, so I was sort of already tinkering with that, and then he said, "Let's do it." And then it was a lot of. I mean, I still have all the emails back and forth. It's
Yeah.
a lot of like, and it just sort of grew as we did it. It had a real. I mean, I don't know. I played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, and it had a lot of
Me
like
too.
so the back and forth was a lot like role playing,
Yeah.
for me, and I think I mean, people who do a lot of role playing, I think see, or at least of a certain generation, I feel like it's a lot lighter hearted now.
Yeah.
But, I think, people roughly our age, saw it and were like, oh yeah, this feels like a role play thing, because we really were bouncing ideas back and forth and seeing how it, manifested, and like where the story went. And you know, it was a wonderful creative collaborative process for me.
Yeah.
Like I loved every second of it.
And so digging into that a little bit, like how, because I've made my living as a writer since 1998, but I've never really co-written with anyone. There's some co-written titles out there that have my name and another writer on it, but we never went through a granular process of like co-writing together. How did that work with you guys? Did you, I mean, yeah, just kind of dig into that a little bit more. Yeah.
We probably each have a slightly different perspective on it, because I mean, Phil had been writing for a long time at that
Had
point.
you written with anyone else before, Phil? Was that an experience you'd gone through?
No, but I had written let me just fact check myself. No, but I had written comics, and I think in my mind, like the collaboration between a comic book writer and a comic book artist is a little bit of a co-writing situation, kind of.
Yep. Sure.
So only that.
And what comics have you written?
So at
I've
that
got
time,
Petrograd right here.
yeah, I started in comics, so I had done some stuff for Oni Press with Rick Lacey, who was the guy that introduced me strangely to Morgan.
Right.
Petrograd, which is a book that I did with Tyler Crook, who went on to do a bunch of like
I
Horsing.
yeah.
Yep, yep.
I know Tyler Matt.
Yeah, he's great. So Petrograd was technically his first professional job, although it took him quite a long time to draw it, so he had other things come out. I think his BPRD started before Petrograd came out. Anyway, and then I'd also done an Indiana Jones book concurrently
Sweet.
with Crystal Skull. Yeah, it was sort of sweet. It definitely, I mean,
It's
it was
250 pages.
Petrograd. Yeah, I mean
Nice.
The Indiana Jones book was like both a dream come true because like, oh, I'm writing Indiana Jones, but it was like a thing that I realized about myself that hasn't perhaps served me that well in terms of my like Hollywood career, where I was like, I actually don't like writing somebody else's IP that much
It
because
sucks. Yeah.
yeah, because I'm like, this is like fan fiction. I'm like, yeah, then he puts his hat on, and it's like, yeah, okay, like well,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
exactly.
it's
Yeah.
cool, but like I don't know, it just feels sort of I don't know. I mean, hollow is maybe too extreme a term, but you know what I mean. Like it feels weird to me.
Yeah.
So I sort of learned that lesson, and that figures a bit honestly into Spine too, or Spine, also
As
like in the way
well.
that
Yeah.
yeah that I think about it in terms of like yeah, like you could go chase a job writing something in like Middle Earth or even Conan or something. And it's like, but at the end of the day, then you're just writing Conan. Like I want to go write my own thing that's like Conan, but it's not
I
Conan,
have written Conan, and you're right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cool though. I mean, like I
Thanks.
love Conan. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not my most successful outing, I'll admit, but so
Uh,
okay,
yeah.
so then you guys start working together, and yeah, what's that workflow like, script wise? I mean,
I don't remember, to be totally
Uh,
honest.
Sweet. That's probably a good sign,
yeah.
actually. Not a lot of friction.
Well, I certainly, when I read it now, I can't remember who wrote what.
Oh,
Like
nice. That's
it
lovely.
blurred enough that even I can't remember. But I felt like I basically, we knew from the beginning we wanted to be like, what if the heavy metal anthology was actually connected instead of, adaptations of, well, it's about half adaptations from the comics with
Hmm.
a hand wavy thing to tie them together. The Lochnar. And we thought, well, what if that was on purpose? What if the Lochnar was on purpose? And we could write it reverse backwards from that. So I think I sort of took like, we knew we wanted to retell Exordium because that was sort of the what got the whole project started. And I'd already had this other story. And it sort of just grew from like, okay, if we're doing like how cool would it be to jump through all these different eras? I've been a
Yeah.
lifelong fan of Canticle for Leibowitz,
Yep.
which sort of just this it blew my mind when I was a kid to read that and be like, wait, how many years have passed between these sections? And
Yeah.
it was just such magic to me. So I thought that was a really cool way to organize an anthology around, sort of.
It really allows you both to explore the different cultures and the different historical segments. I mean, the fact that you sort of have a creation myth kind of like right almost in the middle of the movie is really it really lends itself to that epic nature without cheating it. You know what I mean? It feels big because of the timeline at play, and that's pretty exciting and neat. Okay, and so it sounds like you guys burned through your script pretty quick and got it to a place you were both happy with.
I mean, it's an advantage of saying you're just gonna go make a movie that you can be like, yeah, we're both happy with this. Let's get started. Like,
Yeah.
it was. But yeah, I mean, it probably took. What do you think? 4 months to get that script in a place where we thought where we
I
were really moving towards shooting, I think.
I probably would have said, I mean, 3 when we started in earnest, because I feel like if you look back at the old emails, it
That's
was like
pretty amazing.
we
Yeah.
started talking in November, and I think by in January we were deep into it. And didn't we start filming like in April?
We shot in April with the
Yeah.
live
Sweet.
action. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yep.
Where are you guys locationally with each other? Like, who had to travel to whom? Where did you guys set up production?
I was in Philadelphia at the time,
Yeah.
and Phil was in Rhode Island,
Yeah. I'm
Hmm.
still in Rhode Island, but yeah.
Providence. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we shot in a warehouse in Pawtucket, which is just I don't know, like 20 minutes from where I am right now. It's like a warehousey district where I just found there's a lot of empty warehouse space around here, so I just found one that rented to artists and was like, oh, I need the space and rented the space, and then we shot it all in there. Um,
So, okay, this is a good time to discuss financing because you're
sure.
not right. You didn't go. Um, you're not looking for money. You're not looking for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where is the financing coming from?
Well, at the beginning, it's coming from me because so I had sort of made this decision. I was living in New York, and I was tired of living in New York, and it was too expensive, and all I did was sit in my apartment and write anyway. So I was like, "This is dumb.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go move someplace cheaper." So my wife and I moved here, and I made a reasonable amount of money on my first couple of movies and the aforementioned
Mhm.
screenwriting gigs. So I was like, "Oh, I'll fund us up through the physical production." So like I rented the studio space, and I like we had again, it wasn't, it was a minimal amount of money in terms of like film production. And actually we came
Mhm.
in, I was thinking back on it, we came in well under budget actually for the actual physical shoot. So that's where it came from at the start. And then it was sort of like a drip feed of, me just putting money together year to year because it took quite a long time
Yeah.
up until what, year 6? When did we get serious about like voice cast and
Well,
etc.?
I mean, eventually we had to get the we had to start working on the audio side of it. We'd spent so
Yeah.
long on the animated side that we needed to do the audio, and we sent it to some guys, and they were like, "Your audio is terrible." Which maybe we should have. That rest of that live action shoot should have been getting someone who knew how to do audio engineering. But we did our best, and
Yeah.
it. But he was like, "This is just not up to snuff." We had
Yeah.
it was a big echoey room. We put some baffle balloons up, and everyone had a lav mic. But it's still, it wasn't good enough for like a big production.
Yeah,
So they
like I mean,
said,
just to put a little bit of a film production pin on that, like the crew was, I mean, you're looking at it basically. So
Yeah.
like, so it's not like there was no sound person. So I was like, before we shoot, I was like, oh, put your lav on and turn it on yourself. Like
Yeah.
there was no real attempt. Like if we were really, yeah, to Morgan's point, if were really going to do it, we would have had to hire like an actual sound person to come and do it, which we just didn't do. So
Yeah.
that's why it sucked so bad.
And so
Anyway,
this
Morgan,
means, and we are jumping ahead because I am
we're jumping
fascinated
ahead, yeah.
by the recording of the text, but or the voice work. But this means that those actors, particularly, you end up with like Richard Grant and like Lucy Lawless. That means these actors they're really having to lip sync with the animation, right? Because
Yes.
you had not, okay.
Yeah.
and we did adjust the animation a little bit when they were way off, which was rare. They were surprisingly good at giving their own performances, considering it was someone else's performance.
Yeah. Okay, so this brings us to shooting, and what are the roles you guys are both taking on as director? I mean, you said I'm looking at essentially the entire crew. Oh wait, no, actually, I want to know about casting, because I imagine you're casting for body type first, right? And when you're doing something like this,
That's true. Although we also thought we were going to use that audio, so we wanted good performances. And I mean, to me, as much as I love our celebrity voice cast, I spent, like 6.5 years with the original cast, just, as what the audio for the film was. And I love those performances too. I think they're often comparable. They were really, I love them. And I thought they were really good. I mean, Sydney, who played Zod originally, was just, I thought, a powerhouse performance. And, she was great. I love I mean, Patton Oswalt came in and did the like the petulant king prince guy, but like the guy who originally did it was so snotty and just so like it had almost more menace. I don't know. So it's like I love all the performances that we ultimately have, but
and there was not really
love the old ones.
Yeah, and there wasn't really an opportunity to bring back those cast members to re-record the audio. I mean, I have to assume there was some economic choices made.
Yeah, well, yeah. So there was economic choices being made because we were like, okay, we need to find more money, and if we need to find more money, then we need to get bigger cast, but I mean, this is a terrible circle. Bigger cast then means you need more money. Anyway, we figured it out, obviously. So some of the original cast did come back. Like Gelser is Jordan Douglas Smith, who's a good friend of mine, who actually helped us cast a number of the other original parts. So as much as we could, we tried to bring the original people back. And there were some, like the guy who was mongrel on set. I mean, sort of disappeared into the ether. We couldn't find him again. A couple others were just sort of like, we couldn't find him.
Or people had just retired from acting because it had been so long since we made it. I mean, Betty Gabriel is really the only one she was in the original cast, and before Get Out, and then she was in Get Out, which obviously catapulted her career well beyond us. But she was still kind enough to come back and reprise her role.
Yeah. So you're shooting in the warehouse, and then what are the sort of, how does the directorial tasks divide between the two of you?
I mean, it's pretty organic too. So, usually I would run the camera. Usually, I mean, it's all pretty interchangeable. But then also, like, it's so much of it is going to be Morgan animating, and so much of it is like Morgan's sort of visual sense. So before we shot anything, I would sort of like put a camera in a place and say, Morgan, what do you think? And then invariably he would say, what if it was lower angle?
Yeah.
It's
the finesse.
It's heroic, man. You got to shoot from the floor.
But you had directed a feature previous to this. You had, you had acquired the eye, theoretically.
Yeah. But so it was a lot of that. And then when it was goofy. Like, thank God, we had one piece of like painter scaffolding that we used as like everything. It was like, like it was the throne, and it was the mountain, and it was the tree, and it was like, it was the wagon, it was the gate, I think. It was like, it was everything. Yeah.
I cannot tell you how much money I would pay just to watch the cut film before the rotoscoping.
I mean, we have it.
See the warehouse shoot.
We have it. I don't think ever
We should
really
send you
shown it.
the we
Yeah.
should send you the behind the scenes thing. It'll be on the
Yeah.
Yeah,
disc, but it's I've got it somewhere that you should, and it's got a
I'd
lot of the behind the
love to
scenes
It's
see.
stuff.
on it's
Yeah,
on our
yeah,
Vimeo and downloadable from there. I think. I mean, we can just watch it
Yeah.
on the
oh,
Vimeo.
sweet,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But so yeah, and then like, same with performance, like, we do, I mean, it was like coming from an actual live action shoot, which can be torturously slow because it's like lights and like there's so much going
Yes,
on. Like the amount we were able to shoot and the speed at which we were able to shoot the rotoscope stuff, I was having a great time because I was like, oh,
yeah,
this is great. Now we'll do one over here. Now we'll do one over here. And like it
yeah,
was,
yeah,
so it was, like it's like not a good habit for a director to get into because you don't have to really make any choices when you're shooting. You're like,
yeah.
you just like, we'll do it again. And there's no times, no problem. Um, yeah, and then so it was just like,
How
it
long
was
did it take? Like you said, time is
well,
no
we
issue, but
shot
like,
for 4 weeks.
I think I was gone for 5. I guess some of that was
I
building
think some of
props
that
and
was
stuff. Yeah.
before. I bet I can tell you. I bet I still have it on my Google Drive. Let me see if I have it. But yeah, so something like between 4 and 5 weeks.
mhm.
Um, I don't know if I can find it.
That's okay. I'm,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I'm curious for my own
yeah,
edification,
yeah.
but
Of course.
I'll find it at some point. Um,
It was a great time though. Like you know, maybe I never like went to a summer camp. Well, not really
Yeah,
as a kid, and like it was, and I'd never been in like theater, not really. I mean, I did something like third grade or something, but I hadn't had anything like that experience where it was so, I spent so much time in working alone at home in my living room office to then have 5 weeks of just being
yes,
fully immersed with collaborative artists. It was, I mean, one of the greatest times of my life. Like
yeah,
without question, and then it was when, and it almost becomes even more nostalgic because for the next, everyone else moved on. They all left, but I was sitting there with just staring at that footage for
yeah,
like the next 7 years. I never left
yeah.
that room, the one room. I was just all my waking hours were staring at that room. So I was sort of like stuck in the amber for a long time, just in that
Uh-huh.
scene. But I mean, it's even despite that, I mean, still, it was so good. I loved working with everyone. It was a really
I mean,
awesome
that's the
past.
dream, right? To just be you and your friends put on a show in the barn, and
yeah,
like
Yeah.
yeah.
that's what we're all doing it for. Um, okay, so then animation starts, and from what I've read and from what you've said here, I mean, it's like 7 years of you and scaling up and down. I assume with other animators, bringing other people in, and how does that
I
work?
mean, as much as we could.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
didn't end up with very many.
It was surprisingly hard to find people who could and would do it.
yeah,
I think the style is famously grueling. You know,
mm-hmm.
I've told the anecdote a bunch of times that we were a year into working on it, and my wife and I went to, got up to go, get a coffee for lunch, and we were waiting in line at one of those coffee shops in Philly that has like bookshelves by the where you wait for your coffee. And I was like, oh, look, the history of animation. I wonder if it has a rotoscoping section. Flipped over to it and it said, you shouldn't attempt to rotoscope a feature-length film unless you're serving a very long prison sentence. And it was like how it opened. And I was like, oh man. So,
Well, this is
so
interesting because I do want to talk a little bit about the technology of the process. To my mind, at first glance, it seems like rotoscope can be more egalitarian, right? Like it just allows you. It seems like Bakshi seem to choose it often for budgetary reasons, and but the more I read your interviews and the more I hear you speak, it sounds like maybe not so egalitarian, maybe
well,
really quite difficult.
I mean, I do think it's a sort of thing you can throw bodies at and make
Mm-hmm.
it work. Like, there's a big reason that the Soviets embraced it.
Mm-hmm.
If you look back at the 50s and 60s, like they were hardcore into rotoscoping. Like it was,
Mm-hmm.
more rotoscope work was done in the Soviet Union than, I mean, ever of the rest of the world put together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was because they're like, well, we got a lot of people. We could just
Yeah.
hammer at this with a huge workforce. So, and so you can just sort of grind out the man hours. But we never wanted to be punishing, like we
Yeah.
didn't, we,
To exploit.
unlike Stalin, we
Yeah.
didn't, yeah, we didn't want to do that. My brother might disagree. I think he felt like I was a taskmaster, but,
Oh,
you
did
know,
your brother work on it?
my brother did work on it. Yeah, well, so that was a lot of the getting people to work on it. It's
Yeah.
grueling. It I find it creatively fulfilling. There's lots of little choices you make, like you do with any
Sure.
animation. And like I think you can see rotoscoping that's just like I'm just going to trace the outline of this person, and I think it has a very different look to what Bakshi does because he's drawing on an illustration
Absolutely.
background.
Yeah. And you can really see, I just recently rewrote Fire and Ice, particularly for this project. And you can see that he's making character choices,
Hmm.
Mhm.
outside of the rotoscoping. You can really see that he understands what a creative line is, for lack of a
Yeah.
better phrase. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
I wish I had his cartooning experience or like the cartooning
Yeah.
experience of his crew.
Yeah. He's a
There's
phenomenal artist.
You know, I mean, I've slowly been, there's as the project went on, I got better and better at it. So there's
Sure.
like to me, my shots have less and less of the video in them as like by the time you're at the end of the film, and obviously when you got like six skeletons like
Yeah.
on screen, like they're not really rotoscoped.
Yeah.
So, I just, I became much stronger at it in the process of doing it. But I think it is the sort of thing that you can show to somebody like, here's how you have to do it. But we still had people who would not want to do onion skins because that's so tedious. But as more traditional animation, they just want to do the outlines, and it was just
Can
too
you tell
jittery.
me exactly what you mean when you say onion skins?
Sure. In animation, you get the onion skinning is when you can see translucent versions of previous frames in either
Oh, I
direction.
see. Got you. Right. Right.
Right. So like in the old days, you would have like had, like paper between the transparencies,
Mm-hmm.
like the transparency layers. But digitally, they simulate it by reducing the transparency so you can see what came before and what comes after, so you know how to do like the between frames.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, a lot of what I do is that, like, if someone's like, even if you're tracking someone's arm, like, I'd still like, I'd adjust the onion skin from the previous frame to figure out the turn and the rotation so the details would be consistent. So it's a lot,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot more like traditional and like hand-drawn animation than I think people tend to think of it, especially even just 5 years later. I mean, there's so much automation and style transfer and
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff like that that we didn't do any of that. So.
Yeah.
Um, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so we eventually found some people. I mean, the first, I'd say, half of making the Spine of Night was training people, them doing not very good work. No offense, guys, I know it's hard and tedious. Me redoing their work,
Mm-hmm.
and them quitting
Yeah.
because the work was annoying. But some of the work just wasn't up to snuff, and so I had to do it. And we talked to other studios, and they tried to get their guys to do it, and it was always not acceptably
Yeah.
of quality. I think we tried to keep it to as high of a standard as we could with a really small team. And so about halfway through, we finally sort of settled into having a crew that was steady and reliable and good.
Mm-hmm.
So things picked up pretty quickly, I think, in the back half. It sort of felt like we just had to learn how to run an animation studio for the first
Mm-hmm.
half.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the
And
end, we had a core group.
and it sounds like you're relatively working in chronological order, or the order of the
Yeah,
more or
roughly.
less.
I
Yeah.
mean, when we were training people, we'd usually give them like, well, here's a pretty simple shot with one person.
Right. Right.
They're
Right.
like
But
crowds or something, like
oh
where
yeah,
Yeah.
where the
crowds are
animation can be
grueling.
rough. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and yeah. So eventually, we had my brother came on right when he wanted to work from home when his child was born, and
And
so
he was already also an animator or an artist, or
he
is
was
there?
in he'd done animation a little bit in college and is just a terrific illustrator.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd actually been doing platinum smithing for years, like this, and
Cool.
which was a cool gig, but he
Yeah.
felt like he didn't have anywhere to go with that, and he was like, and I knew I could teach him, So he just came
Yeah.
to my, I mean, we both lived in Philly. So he just came over to my house and we just sat down. I was like, here's how I do it. And I knew he could do it because he's brilliant.
Yeah.
Um, and he became quite good. Never very fast, which is what I've been teasing him about for years, but he was very good.
Well, that's the
And
story of my life, so I appreciate
um and so yeah, we had him and Britt was amazing. Like I think he was out in California. I think he's doing, I don't know, last I saw AI stuff now, which boo. But I get it. That's probably where the money is.
it. Yeah.
And Ian Densford, who's a great comic artist out of I think I don't know where he's at in New York now, somewhere in New York. He
Hmm.
had Trench Dogs. It was sort of like a mouse adjacent World War One comic.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
that's, that's pretty good. Um, so it's kind of just them, and then we had Caleb on doing coloring,
Hmm.
and he
Which I
was
love the palette. It's really, really well, yeah, really well
oh
colored, I think.
yeah, thank you. Well, I mean, yeah, we tried. I stole a lot from Rice Boy. You ever read Rice
Uh-huh.
Boy?
Yes, yes, yes.
Just the color palettes in that are so good. I was like, I'm gonna sample these directly for my color
Yeah.
palettes. So, uh, yeah, and then but so in the back half, kind of just that core team, and then we had, each chapter we hired different people to do the backgrounds,
Hmm.
and so
A
they
lot of
have a little
Germans.
diversity. A lot
A
of
lot of
Germans,
Germans.
yeah. Their concept art scene is crazy to
Yeah,
me.
I mean,
yeah,
and they love that shit. They love that
yeah,
hard metal fantasy shit.
yeah. They do. Yeah, for sure.
What was interesting about the backgrounds, that was on this watch as a 54-year-old man of fire and ice, having a much different relationship to its content and sort of being less titillated by how much Bakshi's obsessed with perfectly drawing her plump ass, that kind of thing. Um, the
Hold on,
thing that
hold
I
on.
took,
In Bakshi's defense, do you think
yes,
that's specifically him, or do you think that's because that's how Frazetta would do it? Because I have that big fancy Frazetta book, and the
yeah,
amount of times that Frazetta was like, "Here's a woman's ass in the moonlight," and it's like
yes,
that's the whole
yes.
focus is not zero.
I
But
I
I would argue that they were kindred spirits
Yeah,
because if you look at
yeah.
his Bakshi's other work that Frazetta's not attached to, there is still the love of the ass.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Like, I
Yeah.
believe they traveled in the same aesthetic circles in that regard. I think uh well, now talking about the ass, I forgot my point. Oh yeah, ass will do that. Um it was the backgrounds this
Mm,
time of Fire and Ice that brought me the most joy. They're so beautifully
yeah.
painted. The color
I
palette
mean,
so psychedelic and interesting. Um,
famously Robert Kincaid, painter of
yes,
light.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
precisely. Um, so this is interesting. So and then getting it across the finish line and trying to find distribution. Is there any interesting stories about that? I know famously you've talked about almost losing it due to Microsoft
Yeah.
Windows
The
being the
the
greatest
internet's
company
favorite
in the
story
world.
about this movie.
Yeah, I mean it is the one that coalesces your
Yeah.
adversity
I
into
mean,
one single moment.
it was terrible for me. Like we'd already, I mean, the film was nearly done, and it's hard to describe in a technical way. Like the original reporting wasn't really what happened.
Yeah,
Like what it did is it updated and broke the file structure. So
Jesus,
but I mean, we're talking about like
what a
70
terrifying morning.
78,000 frames
Holy fuck.
unlinked. So I had to and they're not just frames, right? They're not
Yeah,
flat. So
yeah,
like the backgrounds are sometimes hard or a different like each like they're not condensed down. They're all the PSDs. So they have all the layers and like you have to relink the layers of all of
dude.
them
Yeah,
because and it was like right when COVID started. It was like we just were about to go into lockdown, I think. And I was just alone in my room. I was like, I can't even tell Phil and Will. Like they cannot know
yeah,
how bad this
yeah.
is because it is apocalyptic. And it was just a Windows update, which I had Windows 10 kill a hard drive like 3 months ago. I went to bed,
Uh,
woke up dead. I sent it off thousands of dollars to try to get this hard drive restored.
dude.
It just killed it in an update. It's not me. This is a different machine, different installation. I didn't build it.
Yeah.
Fuck Windows. But anyway, so it was, it just took a lot of manual relinking. I think you can see in the film, there's still one shot where in one of the chapters I did not get the door, like they push open the door in the scene with the two young lovers, and it's not the layer did not relink. I see it every time. It's that they're not actually on the door when you cut back to that same shot. Drives me
Oh my
fucking.
God, I'm watching it again tonight because I'm going to watch it with my wife so I can get her thoughts to help me figure this out. So I'm watching it tonight. So I'm so excited you told me about this. I can
Well,
really look for it.
that one drives me absolutely nuts. Oh, and also, please apologize to her in advance. I really was trying for naturalistic nudity, but the truth is,
Oh no.
we rotoscoped her in a bra, so she had it drives ladies with
Oh, she
larger
does have
busts
very tight
crazy.
breasts considering her body type.
Yeah, and
Um,
in my personal copy, I have reanimated the opening scene so that she has more naturalistic
she
boobs.
moves with, yeah,
but
yeah.
but I could not get. No one wanted to take the time or expense for me to reanimate the entire film and for this re-release, which I was willing to do. And everyone's like, please don't do that.
Well, this is the obvious director's cut that's going to come someday.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
yeah, when we get the rights back.
yeah. Oh, well, shit. We should talk about that. Let's talk about
Oh
that in a
no,
second. I mean, yeah.
we're
Don't
not
say.
putting this on the disc. We
Oh,
don't,
yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
I shit talk the people who actually bought the
Well, I
film.
did, and I wanted to say this in the beginning. Even though we're recording, I mean, obviously, I'm here to make you guys look as good as humanly possible. So if any of this goes anywhere, if it's put on somebody's channel or something, we're gonna definitely take out whatever you
Okay.
want to take out. I'm not here to. I mean, it's good for my personal insight and my also there's something edifying and talking shit about people who you want to talk shit about, obviously. So feel
I
free,
mean,
but it won't leave this
okay.
virtual room. Yeah.
I mean, they know what they did.
They always do.
Oh
uh,
dear.
yeah.
Um,
So,
wait, what was
so we
finishing the
finished. So
film.
we got
Yeah.
the we reassembled the
Yeah,
whole thing. They
getting
were
it
very
across the finish
patient.
line. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like an absolute sprint though. Like Phil was busy getting the final audio recorded because I mean it was
Yeah,
also
that's what
COVID, so we had to mail
right.
out or he mailed out like recording devices and had to do it all over Zoom. I don't know that we would have gotten this cast if they had not been stuck at home, but
So I'm not sure. Well, yes and no, because Joe Manganiello said yes before COVID.
that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think, the common wisdom about casting is, I think, 100% true, which is like as soon as you have one person of
Yes. Yeah.
some note, it becomes easier to get other people. I don't know that we would have gotten Richard E. Grant, to be honest. I feel like that was a bit of like a I'm
Which
bored.
is a pretty dope get. I mean, for me,
Oh yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he
Yeah.
was awesome. I've never met him in person. Still, I will tell you this, we had to do his so to Morgan's point, the original idea was mail everybody fancy microphones,
Yes, that's what I was going to
but
ask about.
yeah, put them on Zoom with me and put them in a closet in their house where the
Mm-hmm.
acoustics are like as good as they can be,
Yes.
and then do it all. And
Yes.
some of what you hear in the film is that, but honestly, like a lot of it, then that didn't work. So then we had to start to send people out to, like, by that point, people could go into sound studios because you're
Mm-hmm.
in a booth anyway, and you could do it.
Mm-hmm.
So for Richard, we sent him a mic, and he was like, sent him a mic in London, and then he was like in vacation in the south of France. He's like, "Oh, I'll bring the mic and we'll do it in the south of France." So we did it, and the sound guys got it, and he was like, "What the fuck is this? Like, we can't use this." So then we had to ask Richard to go into an actual sound studio in London to redo it. I don't, which is he was very game. It was all fine.
Yeah.
In my mind, that original performance, the France performance, is better, but I have no evidence of it.
He's in like a 300-year-old chateau with shitty acoustics, living his best life, trying to do the audio
Yeah,
recording.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot. I mean, and Lucy Lawless, who is just a fantastic human being, if anybody's wondering, she's the best. I love her. Um,
I think her voice performance is awesome in this. I think she's
yeah,
really
she was just great, and she's I mean, in person, never met her in person, on Zoom. Just like, gregarious and as foul-mouthed a human being as you would as you would possibly want.
awesome.
Yeah. Um, I remember vividly, God, what were we talking about? Like, um, I can't remember. She's being self-effacing about how she doesn't have fans, and I was like, "Oh, you have got a lot of fans, blah blah blah." And then I was like, "Oh, but my favorite performance of yours is in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man," and she enjoyed that.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, she's great. Anyway,
I
so
know
she,
this is her reunion with Joe Manganiello.
it's
They were
true.
both
Yeah,
in Raimi's
they're
Spider-Man.
both in Raimi's Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but so she was in New Zealand, and there was a sound place that she'd worked with before, and they were open. So she just went in there and did it, and I was on a Zoom here. And it was great. I mean, it's hard to direct actors via Zoom, and to be totally honest, that
Yeah.
performance, like, it was your lip sync question, impossible for me to tell if that lip sync was working or not. Just impossible.
Yeah.
So a lot of that was her. I mean, she's obviously an incredibly seasoned pro, so a lot of that was me listening and her actually going back and forth with the like, I don't know even what the person's name is, the tech person who is literally there with her to
Hmm.
like who could have a better handle on both like the technical aspects and even like honestly some of the performance too, where she was like, oh, should I do that again? And I'd be like, yeah, I think so. And the tech guy would be like, yeah, yeah, do it, do it again.
Oh,
So
nice. God
yeah,
bless him.
yeah, he was great. I wish I knew his name because
Yeah.
he was fantastic.
And then
Uh
Morgan, you said you had to do touch-ups based on precisely because you had re-recorded the audio. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with animation, like, I mean, it's at 12 frames per second, so you kind of
Yeah.
only have to really nail. I mean, some people have noted a few. I was always really proud that we nailed the lip sync so well with the original
Yeah.
performance,
I mean, it looks awesome. Yeah.
but a little bit we had to tweak it, just to hit like a hard P sound or something like the mouth shape. If it doesn't, like the P's and the ahs, if those don't line up, your brain is like, this is not dubbed properly.
Hmm.
So you want to, like, I went back into, like, make sure, like, adjust the mouth here and there to try to dial it in as much as I could in the 2 weeks after rebuilding the entire project before we had to deliver it to South by
Dude,
Southwest.
I mean, I think mouth shape in animation is magic already. I don't understand it. It's like one of those very small details that is so important, and I don't understand.
yeah.
And then you guys, okay, so you get this thing across the finish line. It hits the festival circuit, and we don't have to go too much into, especially because it sounds like there might be some uh, pretty interesting stories there. But we don't have to get too much into like you guys selling it or finding a home for it, unless you have something you want to add about that.
We're
Um,
very happy to have a distributor.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, we definitely. I mean, it's not hard to imagine a world where we didn't. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're close. They made an offer straight out of our premiere at South by Southwest, and we're like, sounds great, let's do it.
and who is
Um,
they? Who was the?
RLJE.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so RLJE, who are part of like Shutter, are owned by
Mhm.
AMC Network. They
We had almost no theatrical help in it. We had to book it ourselves. No, I mean, I'm sure they made the posters. I'm sure they reached out to some people, but we did personally a lot of. I mean, Will, especially our
yeah.
producer, a lot of heavy lifting trying to get this into theaters. And so, like, because it was during COVID, I mean, obviously nobody went.
Yeah,
So, and
It
that's
was
a
during
big
COVID,
part
and
of the revenue stream of a film.
yeah,
they opened it Halloween weekend, which is like a bizarre choice. Honestly, apparently it's a bizarre choice for any film. I guess notoriously Halloween weekend is not actually good for films. Seems weird to me, but I guess
hmm,
that's true. But also for this film in particular, because it's not, I know it's on Shutter, but it's not a horror film. Like horror, like you would
hmm.
never. There is horror in its DNA, but you would
Sure.
never look at this film and say that's a horror film. It's so far from what audiences view to be a horror film. Like it just
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense. So
yeah.
anyway, those are my two central complaints.
And
Um,
where theatrically did it? Was it? I don't recall it being here in Los Angeles, but I might have just missed
yeah, I mean
it.
it
It
was
was,
we
yeah.
played in Los Angeles, we played in New York, we played in I mean I bet we played in 30 theaters, something like that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
sort of we were in like, major markets for probably like a week or two or something.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
no real as Morgan is saying, with no real marketing budget was spent to allow anybody to know that that was the case. Like it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
surprising at all that you didn't know that it was
yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm not shocked. Yeah.
And by then it was on my radar
Yeah.
because by
Yeah.
then Morgan I think had
Yeah.
reached out to me. Is that true? Probably.
That sounds right.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'd been
yeah.
in communication. I don't remember why. Something cool.
2018,
Yeah.
2017, something like that.
I've got 24 theatrical screenings,
24. Okay.
including the one at you and your brother's theater.
Oh, including the one in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
But that was before we owned it. So
Oh my God, you
oh,
own a theater?
yeah, I own it. My
Oh
family and
my God.
my siblings and I own a theater in the small town I'm from in Wisconsin, which is not where I live, so I don't get to enjoy the fact that I co-own a movie theater, but they get to enjoy it. So,
Oh my God,
yeah,
amazing.
it's pretty cool.
Uh, let's
Yeah.
all go meet there and go to a movie, man.
I would love to. It's very
That sounds
hard to
incredible.
get to small town Wisconsin. But yeah, if you
Dude,
ever want to
I
come.
love a quest. I'm all about it.
Wait, where are you?
I'm in Los
Oh,
Angeles,
Los
but
Angeles. Okay, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
from Corpus Christi, Texas, so I end up on puddle jumper planes just to go see my
Yeah.
mom all the time. So
Yeah, yeah. Makes sense.
but yeah, I'm in Culver City now. But
Oh, nice.
cool.
yeah, I mean, I guess so, sure. Uh,
When I go
okay.
there, I like Culver City, but I've never lived
Yeah,
there,
it's
so I
cool.
don't know.
It's cool. I mean, I lived and met my wife in Venice Beach, California. I lived there for like 20 years, and Venice changed a lot, and I'm glad we fled. There was a time when it was a lot more ethnically and economically diverse than
Right.
it is now. It's sort of been overrun by assholes, but I miss, I mean, we lived right on the ocean for dirt cheap,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was so ratty and for lack of a better term, ghetto, and I loved it. It's like
Yeah.
such good living. And Culver City is none of those things. It's very clean and very homogenized, and but
It's
it's
got
cool.
strong film business history, though. I mean, all of Los Angeles
It
does, but Culver
does,
City in
dude.
particular, for sure. Yeah,
You can't go for a walk without seeing a plaque that it's like King Kong died here.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
When I
So
would
I
come
love
out,
it.
I would sometimes stay at that hotel. It's right in the center, which is
Yes.
where all the little people from
Under the Rainbow
Under the
went down.
Rainbow.
Yeah,
Yep, at
the
that
big
hotel. Yep,
party. Yeah,
yep,
the big
yep,
party. And
yep.
who could blame them? That was probably the greatest representational moment of their lives.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah,
Um, totally, totally. That's a beautiful hotel too. I've
it
never
is.
actually
Yeah, yeah.
stayed in it, but I've certainly
I
drank in its
have
lobby many times.
maybe once, not on my own dime, maybe
Yeah.
twice. I
Oh,
can't remember.
sweet.
Yeah, yeah, it was nice.
Awesome. Even
Yeah,
better when it's on somebody else's dime.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
Okay, so this brings us to the influences, and we had talked a little bit about this, but I am so very interested in, and some of this obviously comes to you guys without you over intellectualizing it, right? You just dig this, and that's how
Yeah.
you ended up coming to it. But I am really interested in the way that fantasy has what emerged out of the 1920s, out of the pulp magazine sort of thing, which this owes a tremendous debt to. I mean, I know obviously we're going to talk about Bakshi and we're going to talk about heavy metal, of course, and the European influence, but really in its bones, I think, and you could argue against this, it's really heavily reliant on what Smith and Howard and Lovecraft is
Mm.
doing in the 20s and several of their peers.
Yep.
And so I kind of would like to hear you guys discuss how you kind of came to that and made those choices. I mean, obviously, we already talked a little bit about it. We're living in a time where high fantasy has sort of taken over
Yep.
the landscape in this sort of more brutal guttural fantasy, which is like tied to all kinds of bullshit libertarian concepts originally. And there's a lot of really difficult politics behind this kind of fantasy, but we all love it, right?
I would just put an asterisk and say there's difficult politics behind high fantasy too. I mean, I think you can.
100%.
I think that it's not strictly the provenance of this
No,
stuff
it's
to be.
authoritarianism and dictatorial. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and we could talk about that too. 100%.
No, I'm just saying. I'm not like
it's also racist.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, yes, yeah.
Gandalf the White against the Dark Orcs. What are you like? What are we doing here?
For sure.
I mean, it's a whole other fucking rant. I could talk about wizards it's like
Well,
like intentional. We talked about this on
yeah.
Letterbox like 8 years ago or something. Yes,
Oh
that's
well, I'll dig it up or I'll find it. But
uh,
that's exactly. In fact, yeah. Fuck influences. We know what your influences are. I can get to that point. But let's talk instead about how you guys subverted those influences. I think that's more interesting actually because there's these standard tropes that you definitely embraced because you should. They're the iconography of the genre, right? Like nakedness in cold climates. That's a
yeah.
big one. I don't know why. It's always I've got it in my own. I wrote a book called Odin's Eye. There's a lot of nakedness in cold climates in that book.
I read that. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah. I mean, you
Uh,
said it to me, but I read it.
oh, oh,
That
sweet.
that and Orc Island, which I loved.
I've
Oh,
read
I
Orc
mean, I
cool.
loved
Island.
it both, but Orc
Oh,
Island,
you did?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
you
was like,
guys are
we should
tight.
adapt this.
Yeah, it's
But
great.
Fuck yes. I don't own it, of course. I don't own anything, but you
yeah.
should if you can. I can put you in touch with people. Um, that would be amazing. Where were we going with this? Oh so for instance, perfect example, right? Nakedness in cold climates, except she has a real sense of physicality to her that's not like overly sexualized and beyond that you can really see, if we go back to Fire and Ice, go back to Bakshi's obsession with the ass, and we can really see how all of his men, the physicality in the men in Fire and Ice is utilitarian, but the physicality in the women is always sort of meant for the male gaze, right? You guys didn't do any of that. You avoid a lot of the ethnocentric stuff that we see in a lot of older fantasy, both high fantasy and sword and sorcery, hard fantasy. You've got a diverse cast, but beyond that, your bad guys aren't the like this culture of dark-skinned orcs who have no value system except for war and hate. And then lastly, another common trope in this stuff, not trafficked in by Howard but many other people, is the wizard who is sort of changing the face of the world, and like a global catastrophe that is coming about, and you guys really approach that from a point of view of not trusting power, not trusting monarchy, I think all that stuff is really forward facing, and I wondered if you guys
I
had
mean,
anything else to add.
oh yeah, no, I mean that was all very intentional. I remember Phil said it in interviews before, but it's a quote that's really stuck with me that he said about how with the Lord of the Rings, like the Return of the King. Well, that sounds like a
Yes.
threat, not
Yeah,
like
yeah.
thing.
I did read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've always loved that line from Phil.
100. I agree 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Fuck power.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's a lot of the subversion stuff that you point out is 100% intentional. I
Yeah.
think it's an interesting thing to think about. What am I trying to say? Like, um, there's a way in which I think I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about other things I've written, but I'll try to put it
Sure.
in the frame of this, which is like we all love genres for a reason. Like,
Yeah.
and we've all been at this point now. We're all who love genre stuff. There's this like pull where we're actually making genre about genre, like because
Yes.
we've seen it so many times, so we know the tropes, and it's just like, well, this is how you do it. Like this is how Star Wars did it, and that's how we're gonna do it. And I hate that. And
Yes.
so for me, a lot of that subversion comes from trying to like look at what the tropes are and like thinking about like either how to do them in a more grounded way or how to do them in a way that sort of tweaks them ever so slightly, or sometimes trying to figure out what made them like cool in the first place and
Mhm.
like kind of like trying to reclaim that in a certain sense. Like it doesn't really apply so much to Spine, although I think there's a little bit of this in Spine. Like I do think that people really love, probably more than anything else, a well delivered cliche. Like if you,
Mhm.
so for example, I remember, I'm sure we talked about this, Morgan, but like the video game Skyrim, which was I must have been playing around the time we were working this. Like nothing that Skyrim does with dragons is a tweak of dragons.
Mhm.
But they
Mhm.
deliver dragons so well that I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. It's just a fucking dragon landed on that thatched hut, and it
Yeah.
blew smoke, like blew fire at me, and it was rad. So when I look at Spine, I think, and this is not intentional. I don't think Morgan and I've ever talked about this, but a little bit of it is like you balance. You try to find the thing like those genre things that we love about them and like deliver those we don't want to call them cliches, but like if it's images or ideas or like whatever, deliver them in a way that is grounded and interesting and really ticks the box, like really does the thing. Like mongrel swinging his axe. Like we all fucking
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
But then, build the character in a way that is not just a Conan proxy. Like you
Yeah.
try to give him like a different, mongrel notably is a eunuch. And like I mean, mongrel, I guess, is a really interesting way to think about the way we did this, I think, because mongrel is a very specifically takes famous things about Conan and does them sort of different. Like he becomes a king, he sits on a
Hmm.
throne, like he does all these things that we know about that Conan did in his fictitious
Yes.
biography, and we're trying to like do it slightly differently, or not even slightly, very differently, but still sort of like um, put that character on like a parallel path to Conan. I mean, sorry, one last thing, then I'll let Morgan talk. I remember accusing is the wrong word, but I remember specifically saying to you, Morgan, well, the All Sorrow, this first sequence, like, it's just beyond the Black River, right? Like, this is just a Conan story. And you're like, no, it's not. And I was like, no, no, it is. And then you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, I guess it is. I mean, it's a very
Well,
different version
yeah,
of that
but
story.
from the perspective of like the indigenous group, not from the guy
Right.
killing
Right.
them.
Yeah, yeah, but
A
like,
perspective is everything, right?
exactly, yeah,
Point of
yeah,
view
yeah,
shifting matters.
yeah.
Um, okay, this does bring up an interesting question that I like to ask genre writers and genre creators. What is the difference in your mind between a trope and a cliche?
Oh, so my gut facetious reaction is there isn't one. But
Yeah,
but
I
I
love it.
actually
It's
but I
totally valid.
actually I actually think or another, just to give you snarky answers, another difference would be like whether you're sitting in a college classroom or not. Like
Okay, yeah, totally.
yeah, yeah. I think a little bit of a cliche has to do with like it's like trope plus repetition or trope plus time. Like
Hmm.
but it's a really tricky question.
Yeah.
I don't know if I
I
have a,
wrestle with it
yeah,
all the time. I love
yeah.
tropes and hate cliches, and I don't know what the difference is between the two of them,
Yeah,
except
I feel like it's got to
it's
be
like the
if
definition
you're
of
bored with
pornography.
it.
I know it when I see it. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Morgan. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I think it's like it's a trope until you're bored with it, and then it's a
Yes.
cliche,
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
and
yeah.
and I think you do have to anticipate what I mean. The audience is going to if you have no tropes, they'll be like, "What? This is unmoored," which maybe is
Right.
cool, but but then having if it's all cliche, the minute it's a cliche, people are like, "Ah, yeah, whatever. I've seen this before."
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about it a lot like blues music. There's
hmm.
really only four chords, but some people are muddy waters.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like he's not playing different chords, but it's different.
Yeah, I think that makes
That's
sense.
kind
I
of.
mean, yeah. I had an adjacent point I was going to make, and now I can't remember what it was.
Oh, sorry if I stepped on
No,
you.
no, 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 it's okay. I like that blues
I,
thing a lot. Yeah.
I was gonna say
Spread it to the world.
to a previous point too. I also wanted to just say in terms of like kings and class
Mm.
and stuff. Like I mean, it was a very conscious, and it is in my work still. Like I really do try to apply. I mean, I wouldn't call myself like a textbook Marxist, but like I mean, I want to apply like generally social theory to fantasy work, specifically
Hmm.
because like it's often very backwards looking and hierarchical, and I mean I
Hmm.
think that's just and Conan shouldn't be, but of course you end up that ends up in a very like right
But it,
libertarian
Very
will to
libertarian
power
coded. Yeah.
but
situation.
like, I mean, just to jump on that for a second, like that's a fascinating thing to think about because, like, to me, like let's take Conan as an example, I guess again, like how you code Conan politically is interesting to me. Obviously, Robert E. Howard, quite a conservative individual, very atavistic in his thinking. But to me, Conan is anti-authoritarian in a sense, as a character, as a like, and I think Howard viewed barbarism in his sort of infamous quotes as like if you squint at it, like a humanist project, because to him, society, kills the human. Like it kills it kills our connection
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
ourselves.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And like that's fascinating to me but it's both. Like that's what makes Conan interesting to me
Yeah,
is that it's
because he's
both of
also
those
like
things.
pull himself up by his
Yeah, I
calfskin
mean,
boots or
yeah, I
whatever.
mean, like I'm never gonna successfully argue that Conan is some sort of like progressive left-wing hero.
Yeah,
But I would say that there is that and I feel this way about Lovecraft too. Like I think it is beholden on people of the left to not abandon those writers because they were racist shitheads, and instead we should fight for them for their legacy to be on our side. Because as soon as you abandon them, then it's like
yes,
then Nazis are like, okay, great, then Conan is ours and Lovecraft is ours.
yes,
And I'm
yes,
like, fuck you, no. Like I'm not like I refuse to let that happen because well, for many, many reasons, many obvious
I,
reasons, but like,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
I think
yeah. I mean,
there's.
I want. Oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry. No,
I was just
please
say,
go
I mean,
ahead.
I think there's left reads on both of those. I mean, certainly.
yeah,
I mean, cosmic horror. I mean, I think is like as much Camus as it is Lovecraft, right? Like you're
Yes,
thinking about the absolute absurdity of being a human being in a
yeah,
100%. Yeah, and how small
void.
we are. Yeah.
yeah,
Um. Oh. I'm sorry.
Oh, I mean, I could go on to say I also think like left, like the question between left and right libertarianism and like what is freedom? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, arguably, I think right libertarianism, like with Conan, almost always ends up with like a might is right thing, even if you're free to be ruled and to rule people. So I think it ends up being like it's very, and as we see, I mean, King Conan is a thing.
Yeah.
So, I think there is I think the idea of like anti-social like freedom is a real it works in like a really individualist sense, but like eventually you're less free because Conan's gonna roll into town and murder you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah. He's his own kind of, yeah, he has his own kind of fascism of the sword.
yeah, yeah,
Which is what I loved about writing him, right? Like it's really satisfying as someone who identifies as a progressive to write a character who solves all their problems through violence. I mean, it's a very cathartic thing to go through, you know.
right, yeah, yeah.
Um, but also I think those of us, I mean, I don't mean to presume anyone's age here, but I feel like we all had some formative years maybe in the 80s. Is that right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I'm
So,
I'm 46, and I think Phil, you're 44.
45.
45.
okay,
Oh,
okay.
oh,
I'm a decade on top of you guys, but nonetheless, I feel like we all sort of grew up with media that was exciting to us, that was very Reaganomics coded,
oh,
and
sure.
I just think we all got really good at at extracting from that what's fun and joyful and possibly even politically aligned with wherever we are, and sort of ejecting a lot of the conservatism, or at least are playing with it in ways that are a little
Yeah.
bit playful and cheeky, right?
Hmm.
um and so that's why it's really nice to see a project like this where its DNA does come from these things. And one thing we haven't talked about is how Smith and Howard a lot of that comes out of the Western too. They were both from the West, the
Yeah.
American West, and they this idea of like a white dude going into a brutal land and taming it, and through violence, that's coded in there too. But I think that to your point about making sure that we keep what's cool and we sort of like evolve it to that place. I mean, that's why. I mean, in a way, that's why Lovecraft allowed his mythos to be co-opted by others, right? There was a progressive idea, and just in that alone, just in the, like
Yeah.
take my stories and like do something with it, and so it's only natural that it would grow and
Yeah.
change with it. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for always putting Clark Ashton Smith's name first in your list of Weird Tales authors. You keep saying Smith, Howard, Lovecraft. Nobody puts him in that. I mean, I might put him in that order, but
Yeah.
that's
He's
awesome.
more well. He's important. I think he's more
Yeah,
important than people
I
give
mean,
credit for.
I love him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a reason he's the least known of them, but I adore him. So, yeah,
Well, it's always the most talented that's the least
yeah,
known.
yeah,
That's what
totally.
I tell myself. So, because nobody knows who the fuck I am. But that's we're gonna roll with that. um, okay, so we discussed like kind of the march of history and time in this project, and I really love how you guys handled that. I also love and appreciate and adore the gore,
Mm,
but I want you guys to talk about the that creative choice, because even watching Fire and Ice and even watching a lot of the 80s stuff, which is so obviously, you guys are obviously tied to, you're still not getting the level of gore. You guys practically make a hard fantasy splatter film.
Mhm.
And I fucking love it. And I'd like to know, if you guys can intellectualize it, or was it just an instinct?
I mean, why ruin it by
I
intellectualizing
know, why ruin anything by intellectualizing?
it?
We're just trying to fill time here, yo.
I'm happy to. The
Morgan, I'll do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think like, speaking of cosmic horror, I mean, I think that is the thing that is so uh fascinating to me is like, I mean, people say, I think there's just a Letterboxd review this week. Do I check it every week? Sure. But where someone
I never
commented,
check it.
yeah, well, I mean,
I literally spend 2 hours on Letterboxd a day. It's just,
I mean, I go on Letterboxd, but I never look at
never
projects I've
look
worked
at
on.
This Fine Night.
Nothing I've worked on do I ever look at.
I like to know.
Wrong person you are.
I like to know. I mean, like, it's hardened me in a lot of ways, but like people who get it, and people who don't. And then you look at their profiles. This is the best part that you can't always do with people. You can click on people who hated your movie for bullshit reasons and then be like, oh, they have terrible taste.
Yeah.
Or you're like, oh, they also gave this brilliant film 2 stars.
Yeah.
So whatever. It's a cope, but whatever. But someone had commented like how much they appreciated the effort that went into making sure you could see like the visible fat layers when they cut through the bodies.
Yes.
And I was like, I did put a lot of work into that.
Yes, that's that half split when you split that first. Yeah, it's good.
But I think the gore is there to me it drives me nuts when you see things and there's no like cost of violence. You're just like, oh, I guess they just a sword passed across their chest and they're dead now. Like you almost only see, I mean, like some Kurosawa films, like have really will go, like show like the aftermath of this noble battle, and it's just dead people and dismembered peasants everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that having a cost to the violence takes it out of being like, I mean, it's just heroic, it's fine. No one gets hurt. No one really gets hurt. It's just we're taking this thing. Like I think it's important to show that. And it's also part of the cosmic horror, like to show the smallness of the frail humans in this mythological universe.
We are made of meat.
Yeah, we're made of meat. And when you stab us, like, I wanted it to be, I mean, maybe over the top, but to make the point of like, it's horrible. Getting hurt is terrible.
Yeah.
And hurting people is terrible. And, it drives, like anything, like you see, I don't know, like G.I. Joe or something. So with the, they're shooting each other with these blasters and you're just like, these should be, this should be a Apocalypse Now. Like it should be horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. That would have flown well with G.I. Joe.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I would kill to see the Apocalypse Now of G.I. Joe stories. But...
I'm here. I'm available.
Yeah. Actually, it's not a bad
Destro?
like comp to move forward.
Destro with his chrome head. He's got the chrome head.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
it'd be great.
Yeah, that's my Marlon Brando imitation. And so this is interesting, right? Because Philip, I mean, kind of in a way, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're sort of turning the project over to Morgan once you move into the animation phase. Is that?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And then was there discussions about choices like the level of gore or is that something you guys are?
I mean, I can't imagine us ever disagreeing on the level of gore. I mean, I just don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
I just don't. I mean, I just can't, like, it's not so no. I mean, that, like, I would check in with Morgan, we talk all the time, obviously. So, in whenever there was anything that he wanted my opinion on, I would give it. But yeah, I mean, it was always going to be gory. There was no way that it wasn't ever going to be gory. And in fact, I think Morgan has been heard to say that he thinks we didn't push the gore far enough. So
yeah.
And I'm here to say I agree. We failed.
That's true.
Where are your failure points? Where should there have been more gore?
I don't think there's a bit too much of a hot knife through butter quality to some of the hits.
Oh,
I wanted them I was watching. It's probably 5 years old now. It was a Mortal Kombat spin-off,
Okay.
some Scorpion thing, and the show, the movies, whatever. But I was like, the gore in this is great. You could see the sword or the blades catch on every rib as they go through, and I was like,
Yes,
that's
yes,
what.
yes.
If I could do it again, we would have a little. The body would give more resistance, so that it
Right.
would be grosser.
A physical substance that you're hacking into. Yeah.
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 That's really interesting. Very quickly, and then we can wrap up. And I really, really, really appreciate your time on this. Let's see how to broach this. So for me, and it's in a lot of my work, and it's in this as well. For me, um, a definitive aspect of my life are some very characterologically shifting uses of hallucinogenics in my
Mhm.
20s. And I would not be who I am today without some of these trips, good and bad. And I have always tried to put something of that nature in my work, whether it's legitimately people having, drug induced, or something about the nature of how having your consciousness shifted changes who you are as a person. And this piece is intentionally hallucinatory. It's not just aesthetically hallucinatory. There's an element that acquiring the power or using the magic has a hallucinatory effect. I
Mhm.
mean, I was wondering, if you guys had anything to say on that front, or why you chose to go in a kind of a psychotropic direction. It's definitely, to me, one of the more interesting aspects of the work. And I was wondering if you
Yeah.
had
I
anything to
mean,
say about that.
Morgan, do you want to go first or do you want me to go?
Well, sure. I can go first.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I've had a very positive relationship with hallucinogens as a human, as a creator. Like, I mean, I found it uh great. I think
Yeah.
people should do it. I mean, it's not like, if you're I, I think you see more of yourself. I think plenty of people, like your Joe Rogans of the world do a lot of hallucinogens and come out worse. But like for me, it really was I mean, mind expanding in all the ways that you want it to be. And I mean, I don't engage as much now, but I'm happy to, if someone's got shrooms and wants to hang out. I watched my own movie on shrooms a year ago, which was very weird.
I would never
Uh,
do that. I would just see I would drive me
well,
crazy. I
it
have
was,
so
but
much insecurity.
it was enough time since I'd seen it
Yes.
last that it felt very much like a distant observer of something
Right.
else.
And you could
Yeah.
time had passed, you could be surprised by some of the creative choices. And yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, and be like, yeah, they felt new again.
Yeah.
Also, the way, at least in my experience, the flat shading on the characters with the complex paintings of the backgrounds, which, is meant to emulate Fire and Ice. But on mushrooms, it has a specific thing where the characters really hold solid and the
Yes.
backgrounds kind of melt behind them. So
Sweet.
they're really clear. So you can really it creates an interesting effect. At least it did when I watched it. So I'm pro hallucinogen. I think I recommend it, and I think it's great. So
Yeah.
it's certainly part of I think magic too. I mean, it's the closest thing I've experienced. Is like I'm not a religious person. I've never had any real phenomenological stuff happen, but
Mm-hmm.
the closest I've seen to magic is hallucinogens. So
Yeah.
it fits the genre appropriately to me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thoughts, Philip?
so I'm the what's the right word? The dweeb in the group. I've never done a hallucinogen. I'm not a drug user at all, really. I never even smoke pot, to be honest. Like I'll drink occasionally, but
Yeah.
I'm just not it's not who I am. But I will say that I think, it's almost a necessary part of any piece of artwork that tries to like be transcendent in some sense. Like
Mm-hmm.
like you can't. I've been thinking about this a bunch in other projects we're working on, where it's like I can't at this point imagine writing something that doesn't. whether you want to say it's psychedelic or surreal, like I can't imagine writing something that doesn't attempt to like. So you're saying it's like it's a matter of perception, like it doesn't attempt to push the viewer into a place where they're experiencing something that is, whatever word you want to use, transcendent, psychedelic, that is like that tries to shift a perception on reality. And I guess like as a lame statement, I will say like that also is like what art should do generally. Like I think there's so much art that gets made that's like, it's just a thing, and so much just
Mm-hmm.
about whatever, and like it's whatever.
Yep.
And like I think that the like a visionary quality to art um is in my mind increasingly necessary for whatever, like I guess personally, but then also honestly probably in a societal way too, like
Mm-hmm.
like science fiction used to, like, if you look at 2001 or something, 2001 gets talked about like a hard sci-fi film, but that's not where it ends. It ends in like psychedelia and evolution, like,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't see that in science fiction. I mean, you're not going to see that in Star Wars at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not going to see it, like, you don't even really see it in like Christopher Nolan's stuff. Like whatever. I'm not going to shit on Christopher Nolan. I would,
You
but
can. This is safe space.
I.
Boring
I
as
mean,
shit.
what was the fucking, yeah, like the I mean, I like some of his movies, but what was the space one?
Oh,
I've never even
Interstellar.
seen it. I've
Fucking
ne-
fuck that movie.
I
Well,
Like
refuse.
the
I
number
refuse.
one movie that is in people's top fours on Letterboxd that hate The Spine of Night. For whatever cosmic thing we did, they hate it and they love Interstellar's
They
like sentimentality, like because it's corny.
it's
It
corny
has
as shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm lactose intolerant. I can't handle fucking milk in
Um,
it.
but yeah, so I mean, I don't really know where I'm going with that point, except to say that it's an important aspect to me of the movie, certainly, even though I don't have a personal experience with the substances, but I do have a personal relationship with the way parts of filmmaking or other kinds of art that are really sort of, I'm not even sure what the right word is, but like, for lack of a better term, psychedelic or surreal or whatever the right word is. Like I just think it's a key thing. It should be there, you know?
I love the two that you guys have these two separate experiences because obviously it isn't just uh drugs that get us there, right?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's art, like you're saying, and what I'm ultimately searching for, and what I'm always searching for, whether it's when I'm getting high or whether I'm writing or I'm whatever it is I'm doing, going for a walk, is I'm searching for a flow state where I'm going to be in a really where things are going to come to me easily, where my human frailties are going to sort of fall away a little bit, my insecurities are going to be less pronounced, and I can receive whatever transmission is being aimed at me,
Mm.
whether it's coming from inside or outside, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And your movie does that. It reaches points at which it's self psychotropic, not because of its themes or anything, but it visually
Mm.
arrives at psychotropic events, and music can do that. And whatever, I'm sure people can meditate their way there, I have no doubt. But I just think in general, the reflexive nature of the human mind to like cling desperately to its sense of reality is dangerous, and we
Yeah.
can use art, and we can use substances, and we can use experiences to break us out of that. And I think that's in the movie, and that's in a lot of my favorite art. You mentioned 2001: A Space Odyssey. Absolutely, it's something I've struggled for in my own writing, and I really appreciate seeing it in this sort of cast in this hard, sword and sorcery
Yeah, yeah.
mold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I agree. And thank you.
I unfortunately I was supposed to be going to pick my son up from
We're
someplace
done.
5 minutes ago, so I should run.
Oh shit, we're
Uh,
done. We're done. We're done.
All
I'm
right.
so sorry. I should have asked
no,
you
no,
guys about
no.
time coming
No,
in.
no, no, no. I didn't want. This was great. I didn't want to cut it short, but I should cut it short now. But this was so much fun. We should talk again. This was a blast. We
I
should
would
just
love
like
that. I
hang
would
out.
love that.
Yeah.
And let's now we have each other's email
Yeah.
addresses. So, and I'm going to ask about this recording, obviously, and we'll whatever the fuck, I don't know.
Yeah.
But go pick your son up. How old is your son?
He's 11,
Awesome.
but he's at like what's the longest story? Actually, I'll tell you, fun anecdote. he and my wife are currently babysitting Galsur's 4-year-old son. So the actor who played
Amazing.
Galsur had to do something tonight, and so they're at his house because he lives here now. So I have to go get my son because he has to come
Yeah.
home and do something. So
Also, your son is almost the exact same age as when
as
we
the film,
filmed the movie
yep,
because Vicky was very pregnant when we were shooting.
yep,
Oh,
So,
wow.
so it's
yep.
almost the same. Yeah.
See, movies are people, man. That's all there is to it.
That's just science.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I'm gonna